former President Joe Biden managed to sneak in a stunning move in his final minutes as the 46th President of the United States.
Biden preemptively pardoned a handful of members of his family, including his brother James and James's wife Sarah Biden, first sister Valerie Biden and her husband John Owens, and the now former president's other brother Francis. In a statement, Biden wrote, quote, "My family has been subjected to unrelenting attacks and threats, motivated solely by a desire to hurt me, the worst kind of partisan politics. Unfortunately, I have no reason to believe these attacks will end, even when individuals have done nothing wrong and will ultimately be exonerated. The mere fact of being investigated or prosecuted can irreparably damage their reputations and finances."
Back in 2020, Biden sang a different tune when it came to preemptive pardons. Here he is during a CNN town hall.
Trump is reportedly considering a wave of preemptive pardons for his adult children and for Rudy Giuliani. He's also floated the idea in private conversations, according to our reporting, of possibly pardoning himself, which he insists he has the power to do, though that has never been litigated. Does this concern you? All these preemptive pardons?
Well, it concerns me in terms of what kind of precedent it sets and how the rest of the world looks at us as a nation of laws and justice. Now, in terms of the pardons, you're not going to see in our administration that kind of approach to pardons. Nor are you going to see in our administration the approach to making policy by tweets. It's just going to be a totally different way in which we approach the justice system.
Maybe Biden doesn't remember saying that. Here's Senator Adam Schiff in 2020 criticizing Trump for his pardons.
Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime? Who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, but also it's the president's own family. It's people that have been covering up for the president in addition to his own family.
And that was criticism of Trump for just the idea that there would be a preemptive pardoning of family members, which obviously did not take place and then did take place for Joe Biden. Now, it's noteworthy that back in 2023, congressional Republicans had subpoenaed James and Hunter Biden. They wanted to investigate their business dealings, both foreign and domestic, whether they did involve Joe Biden in those dealings. Sarah Biden was involved in some of James Biden's dealings, while Frank Biden allegedly leveraged Joe Biden's name for other business gigs. Political commentator Meghan McCain took to X, writing, "How many crimes has the Biden family committed that he feels pardoning all of them is necessary?" Piers Morgan jumped in, writing, "Comical to see Democrats screaming indignantly about President Trump's abuse of the pardon system, given their own guy Biden's shocking abuse of the pardon system for his own family." So this happened in the final minutes yesterday, Niall. We didn't even have time, I don't think, to react to it on yesterday's show. I was too occupied with my fury over the Fauci pardon. And then this happened, I think, just as we were getting up to exit our studio. A really just shocking blanket pardoning of a certain number of family members who have not. There's been some interest in looking at them by certain Republican figures, mostly in connection to Joe Biden himself and Hunter Biden. I don't know that there was going to be any serious effort made to, look at them for real criminal activity, but it's off the table now anyway. What do you make of this decision?
I wouldn't defend it at all. I don't actually like. We could have a broader conversation about the pardoning power and whether it is worthwhile that exists in the first place. But I think the double standards that were shown there in some of the clips we played, the Adam Schiff, Joy Reid one in particular, showed, you can't defend just having one rule for me and another for thee. And so the argument there where there is a pardon made of Joe Biden's family members, I didn't like the Hunter Biden pardon, and I said that at the time. I don't like these preemptive pardons of other family members. It was interesting to me that there were 5 family members named because, as you said, James Biden among those 5 was the one of the quintet among or around whom there were the most questions hanging. But, I wouldn't have supported Trump pardoning his family members had he done so. I don't support Biden pardoning his family members either.
And it's not just Joy Reid. I saw clips yesterday of just the number of mainstream media liberal commentators who put this exact question to Democratic figures in Biden's circle or on Biden's team about, what if Trump starts pardoning family members preemptively, and they were all outraged by the suggestion. And now, I watched some CNN and Fox. I watched CNN, Fox, MSNBC yesterday. It was very celebratory on Fox.
Absolutely.
On CNN and MSNBC, it was, dark days. It was so apocalyptic. Actually, it was far more apocalyptic than the Democratic Party is behaving or the activists in the street are behaving. MSNBC, if there's supposed to be a don't have your hair on fire all the time memo, they did not receive that memo yesterday, let me tell you. Very little discussion. I don't want to say there was no discussion. Maybe they did talk about this and I just didn't see it, but they didn't happen to discuss it while I was watching. If this is how the pardon power is going to be used in the future, I said when you and I discussed pardons a couple weeks ago, I said, as much as it is kind of crazy that the president has this broad power, I actually would not tweak or change it away because there are some people languishing in jail for whatever political reason. I don't think they should be there, and if you subject it to more committees or more lawmakers getting to weigh in, you're never going to get people like Julian Assange or Edward Snowden or Ross Ulbricht would never get there. Snowden's in Russia, but would never have the kind of pardon type thing happen if you subject it to more. If there's more veto points in the process, which is why I don't recommend changing it. But if this is how it's going to be, if it's just going to be used to wholesale pardon everyone in your orbit, then we do need to change it, actually.
Yeah, I mean, my whole argument about it is that I think it is peculiar that the United States takes rightful pride in the idea that no one is above the law, and that the people who are not above the law has included the President of the United States. The ruling that the Supreme Court put forth last year has obviously granted much broader immunity than I would like, but the basic principle is that no one is above the law. And to then hand whomever is president the power to raise other people above the law by pardoning them, whether that is family members or other people, it seems dubious to me. I mean, I take your point about veto points and choke points, but it just seems that you are giving the president the right to excuse some people from the consequences of their actions.
I like it in cases like, and I don't, so Leonard Peltier was pardoned by Biden. Now, I have not looked closely at the details of that case. I have not formed an opinion about his guilt. I know a lot of people on the left think he was not guilty or he was set up or something like that. I am not stating an opinion on that. There's people on the right who think he's perfectly guilty and he should die in prison, and that's the way it should be. But I'm just using him an example of someone who there's not, if you had more veto points on the process, is never getting a kind of pardon.
Right.
Someone in my ideological bent, libertarians are very passionate about the pardon for Ross Ulbricht, who was a libertarian adjacent figure who came up with this internet dark web marketplace called Silk Road, where some illicit activity was engaged in, and he was charged as if he was involved in it, and he got I think he got life or something. He's now going to spend the rest of his life in prison unless he gets a pardon. His family has been campaigning for one for a long time. Actually, one of the reasons the Libertarian Party lended so much explicit support to Donald Trump was they apparently got a promise from him that he would pardon Ross Ulbricht very near the beginning of his presidency. It's day one now. Let's get to it. I'm checking my watch for when this pardon's going to come. And again, that's another thing where that would never work if you had more people who could veto it. But as we've said, this is starting to get this is going to get excessive, and now Trump. This is the other reason that's not good about it that many liberals are discussing. Well, Joe Biden has kicked open the door to doing this so vehemently and decisively. What's to stop Trump from just pardoning every single person who has worked in his administration and every person with the last name Trump and all of their people when he's done being president?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you're going to assume a moral position or a position of moral superiority, you need to be judged by that standard yourself.
Coming up on Rising, we will discuss Elon Musk setting the internet ablaze over something that occurred during his speech. That's going to be a debate, too. Stick around.